Previously on Talking Joe.
Man alive, I take that Curly Wurly out the fridge. It is rock solid. It is like eating like a real hard butterscotch candy. It's like no good to me. I wanted that chewiness from the Curly Wurly, and it was just brittle and snapping off as I put it in my mouth.
Talking Joe is on the air, and here are your hosts, Chief and Mark.
Hey, 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 ah! It's the Halloween Chief Dog. I got no idea.
Oh, great. And hey, everybody, it's me, Dr. Mark.
Yes, he's kind of a Halloween character, isn't he, Dr. Riviera? The amount of crazy horror stuff he gets up to.
Yeah. I've never seen one of these before.
Oh, you got me wanting to watch Simpsons now. It's like S-Jobs when he mentioned casually a movie or whatever, and oh, homework. Now I want to watch Simpsons, so Funky Bunch giving the Chief Dog homework. But how are you? How you been? As of recording, we'll pull back the curtain. It is the day after Halloween, 1st of November. This episode won't go out for a few days, but how was your Halloween, sir?
Yeah, it was all right. So sort of a sort of semi-lockdown Halloween, when it's sort of not doing the normal sort of trick or treats, but yeah, we had some fun anyway. The kids still sort of dressed up a little bit, and we set them a scavenger hunt around the house.
Nice.
They made a Halloween cake, and they sculpted some little Halloween figurines out of that Fimo clay stuff.
Okay, I saw your doggy pumpkin. Very good carving, sir.
I had some 2 pumpkins. Yeah, a doggy pumpkin, which was Thomas's request.
Okay.
And Joe went out and bought a bunch of paraphernalia as well. So we had giant cobwebs made out of bin bags, but
nice.
Black bin bags and that sort of stuff. So it's still all Halloweeny.
I carved 3 pumpkins with just kind of regular Halloween jack-o'-lantern faces, and I went out yesterday to buy a 4th one because I wanted to do a Darth Vader helmet in a pumpkin. And God damn it, man! People stop buying all these pumpkins from the Chief Dog because I went to Little Sainsbury's, Big Sainsbury's, Tesco Express, and Lidl. Not one pumpkin in sight.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. They were in. Well, I had a look what's today? Sunday. I had a look Friday night, and I think there was like 2 left in one of the stores, and I thought, they'll put a load more out on Halloween, surely, but they didn't. So.
Crikey. Yeah.
There
Wonder
you
what's
go.
happening behind the scenes with all of the pumpkins.
Yeah.
Maybe they haven't grown as many. Or
Yeah. Well, I was buying carving pumpkins as well. I wasn't buying because normally I buy like just regular eating pumpkins, carve them, and use all the insides to make a pumpkin pie or a pumpkin tart. But this year, I thought they're a bit more expensive. But this year, I just bought carving pumpkins, £2 each. I don't know if you can still. I guess you can still eat them, but they're labelled as carving pumpkins, maybe because the inside maybe isn't as sweet or nice. But.
Oh, maybe I didn't appreciate this whole thing. We had pumpkin soup yesterday.
Oh, nice.
Curried pumpkin soup.
Sounds good. Sounds
good,
like
it's
the Chief
good.
Deli. I've been watching some Halloween movies.
Oh yeah.
Over the last week. Well, I say Halloween movies. They're kind of scary movies on the basis that they're not very good, and that is the Resident Evil franchise.
Oh, interesting.
So I have watched 5 of the 6. I still have 1 to go. So I think it's Resident Evil, then there's Apocalypse, Extinction, Afterlife, something else, and then the final chapter. But the first one, 3 stars on Letterboxd, quite enjoyed it. I thought it was really good. Had seen it before. Then they do start going downhill. It's kind of 2.5s. 2.5 for the Chief, not a regrettable watch. So didn't mind watching them at all. But silly fun. Mila Jovovich, whatever her name is great in the title, in the lead character. But just kind of throwaway, silly fun. Seen any of them?
I've not. I've got the I think 3 in a box set. So
Okay.
Might dig those out. We've been on a sort of kids Halloween trip this week. So we watched Goosebumps, The House with Clocks in Its Walls, and the Addams Family new cartoon, which I believe is 2019.
Okay.
All right.
Now, would
we're
they
both-
appreciate... I should have watched last night, and I didn't. I said to Ben and Faceman that I was going to, and I'm a liar, not a man of word. I said I was going to watch Ghostbusters. Would they appreciate Ghostbusters? Yeah?
Well, I don't know. We've tried it on them before, and they didn't really
Okay.
particularly like it. It's quite a slow opener
Yes,
to
it is.
Ghostbusters, which is,
Yeah.
I think, often the way with those 80s films. So yeah, we won't give up on it, but last time it didn't work.
Okay, well, next Halloween, give us an update, a progress report. I'll expect they've watched it and it's one of their top movies. Otherwise, disown them kids. But, what else has been going on? Oh, yeah, this has been going on. Inside Chief's mind.
It's dark. It's cold. Can you be brave? Can you be bold? Say to get on, you don't know what you'll find. Digging in deep into Chief's mind. Inside Chief's mind. Are you trapped? Or can you escape? Recording all your thoughts like a videotape. Inside Chief's mind. I said inside Chief's mind.
Yeah, so I tell you what, I'm not a big fan of house hunting and people in those houses. No, so we are trying to move. We looked at 3 houses yesterday. The first one we looked at was very nice, but you know, it's difficult. You've got a budget. You've got things you like, and then you make a short list of maybe 4 or 5 things you're like, these are essentials. And we're finding that just cannot hit all 5. So we want a garden. We want a good loft space. We want a kitchen diner. We want commutable distance, i.e. walk into school and to a train station. And then 5 optional is kind of parking. Got a motorbike, no car, but when lockdown ends and people want to visit, nice to have parking. And this place we looked at yesterday, no parking at all. Garden, little bit smaller than our current one, and our current one's not that big anyway. But interior was very nice, and it's kind of like, okay, well, is that sacrifice you can make? I don't know. Then I actually went and knocked on the neighbour's door and said, you know, what's this area like? And I knew the area because this house is actually only 3-minute walk from my current house. But I kind of said, oh, what's this street like? And he said, yeah, really nice and quiet. He said, apart from the stoners that live on the corner and I smell weed all day. So, you know, how much stock do you put in that? So my missus is like, right, for the next 3 days, 3 nights, you need to go and lurk outside their house at 9 p.m. to see how much noise and what you can smell. And I'm like, oh, really? And I was like, on reflections, I was like, yeah, you probably do need to scope out a house at all different times of day to think for traffic noise, to look for, you know, who's about, what's the lighting in the area like, because my missus will be coming back from work late, walking home. So you actually do need to scope out a premises all different times of day. But
yeah, I mean, if
anyway,
you're taking it properly seriously, then you've got these doubts about, you know, maybe how, you know, those neighbourhood issues. It's not, you know, it's worth investing a little bit of time in, considering
we
the
looked
price.
at one in the afternoon. I sent you the pictures, and it was like, this is the house for the chief. It had nice porch, and it had a downstairs playroom, it had a conservatory, purpose built, then it had a real nice high-pitched living room lounge area, dining room, fully fitted modern kitchen, massive garden, kind of a landscaped area. Then at the back, the owner was a session musician, so he'd built a soundproof studio in the back. I'm like, this is massive. This can have scale electrics. It's a podcasting studio. Everything. It's an action figure display center. Comics can go in there. It's like, this is the one. This is the dream house. Slightly outside our budget, but we probably could stretch. We came out the property. I was like, right to the missus. Right, we need to offer on this ASAP. She's like, nah, I didn't really like it. She's like, nah, no character. Too modern. Too clean lines. Not rustic enough.
Yeah,
I'm
too
like,
nice.
oh
Too
God.
nice.
Yeah, too nice. Too nice. Yeah, don't know. So anyway, this house hunting malarkey is not fun, I tell you.
No, it's seriously not. Yeah.
Well, look, the you know, difficult to know when you're watching programs and documentaries and stuff, but I think it's been backed up by some science. But we're, I think, 11 years away from the extinction event, aren't we? In that, if the human population doesn't reverse this path we're on, in 11 years' time, we will then be on the slope towards extinction, which is irreversible.
Okay.
So we've got 11
Climate.
years, otherwise the human population is going to hit that extinction event, and then but no, they're not telling us.
It's
I don't
the
think how long that
extinction
lasts. So the extinction
tipping point. You're
the
saying,
tipping
rather.
point gets hit and it cannot be reversed. But that might be 2,000 years until we're actually extinct. It's not like in 11 years' time the planet blows up. It's just it cannot be reversed, and then 500, 1,000, 10,000 years and we're no more. But I suspect the planet is probably going to be dead in about 60 years.
Okay. Or it could get to the year 3000, everything's the same, but we all live underwater. So you know, don't know.
There you go.
Who's to say?
Listen, after all this depressing talk, let's talk about something good. Let's talk about some fiascos. Let's talk about action figure fiascos. Action figures. We all love them. We all love them. Action figures. Oh yeah. They bring us joy in our daily lives. Bring us joy. Action figures. Yeah. Evoking memories from our childhood. But now we're grown and we just can't stop. Buying plastic till our wallets pop. When will it end? Who can say? 'Cause action figures are part of our DNA. Some people say maybe we've gone a little wacko, but action figures bring us joy like a rainbow. They are so hot like a splash of Tabasco. Now it's time for action figure fiasco. Now it's time for action figure fiasco. So a couple more figures on the block this week. Oh, quick update from last week where the Chief was out of the action figure game. Chief's back in.
Oh, crikey.
Well, no,
High
not back in.
melodrama.
I think I said last week that my purchasing trend was stopping, and I was going to potentially go back to like a regular human being and just buy 4 to 6 a year. Figures that I needed. If I miss pre-orders, don't care. If I miss that figure, so what? Not bothered. But just 4 to 6 figures a year, like a regular sane person, of figures that I like. Don't have to collect them all. What's the point? That kind of trend. Ben, and I was kind of swayed in a way by Ben, who had the bug with me, and he was in a chat and he was saying, I posted a link to an action figure, and he's like, why are you posting all these links? He's like, action figures are absolutely dead to me. They mean nothing to me. Stop posting stuff about action figures. I hate them. What's the point? And then yesterday, sent me a message. In it, he's like, oh, I just bought a Cheeky Chewy 6-inch Black Series. And I was like, what are you doing? He goes, yeah, I'm back in. So you think you're out, but they pull you back in. But anyway, listen, enough of that. Let's talk about this one, and it is a classified G.I. Joe. It is Roadblock. Now, when the promo images were coming out, I thought this was the best looking figure, and I'm tempted to now still go with that. I really like the chunkiness of the build. Big thighs, big kind of barreled chest, nice muscled arms, head good proportion, thick neck, love that look. I like the gloved hands. I like the colour scheme is close enough to V2 vintage. Right, I don't mind too much the gold on the shins and the knee pad. That's easily fixable with a bit of paint if you did want to customise that.
And it's also a kind of unifying look between the figures of Series 1 classified. They've all got that little flash of gold somewhere, haven't they?
The big kind of sci-fi gun, I don't even mind that too much. Obviously it'd be better with a 50 cal, but I don't mind the fact that we're not getting the toys we loved vintage in a direct 6-inch scale. That doesn't bother me. I know it is a big issue for true diehard vintage people, but for me, I don't particularly care what other people think. So for me, that's actually not a problem. Holds the gun well, nice grip, nice, much more tighter as well. Like the Snake Eyes and the Scarlet, I think we mentioned the legs and the torso very loose. This one really tight, nice. Yeah,
I guess he's got that vest on him as well. I don't know whether that helps with the keeping it a little bit less loose.
Yeah, nice knife. I forgot about the knife. I had it in in his sheath on his chest. I've never actually had him
That's
holding
right.
it. It's always been in there. But does he hold that well?
Well, yeah, given his sort of his size and whatnot, it is, and sometimes because it's quite a little small knife.
Yeah.
Some of these things sometimes can be a bit floppy, can't they, and sort of not really grip. But yeah, it seems all right.
Yeah,
It's a
good.
nice little touch. It's very dinky compared to the rest of his size, and also the rest of the scale of the knives that come with the other figures.
Yeah,
But yeah, maybe it's more for peeling an apple or whatever.
Oh yeah, well, he is a chef, so isn't he? A haute cuisine chef, and he teams up with Major Blood to go on the road. No, that was just me. Yeah. Lastly, on this guy, not this guy specifically, but have you got the Cobra Island version of Roadblock?
No, I've just got the regular. I decided against the Cobra Island one, as I thought I didn't need two of the same figures. Although, yeah, if they'd just given him a different name, I might have felt differently.
I was going to say,
weirdly,
you could probably
psychologically,
just say he's heavy duty or something, couldn't you? Or
yeah, I mean, there isn't a huge amount that would suggest that they're actually the same guy, apart from the fact that they've both got, I think, the same lion tattoo on their arm. Yeah, I mean, the other version of Roadblock has got the sunglasses and has got a much longer beard and has got a bandana, so they do look pretty different, to be honest.
Yeah. Now, I've had this little, what I thought was a water canteen or a magazine just at his feet, because I was like, what is this for? And then, pre-recording, I was like, what does this do? And then you were like, well, it actually goes in the gun. I've turned the gun upside down. I've actually seen a slot for it. So
yeah.
So I'm slotting that magazine in. Why they felt the need to have that as a removable accessory, don't know. Serves almost no purpose. But other than that, really like this figure. Going to give it 8 out of 10. I don't know if we've been grading figures. We haven't.
We
in fact,
but
I'm going to
why not? And what I like as well is the fact that with this 6-inch Joe scale is that they've made them different sizes.
Yes.
So
that's good.
the original 3 3/4 inch, they were pretty much across the board all the same height, really. There was very, very little variation, whereas this, you compare Scarlet to Roadblock, there's quite a significant difference between the two, and then Duke's somewhere in the middle.
Then you get Gung Ho. We might talk about Gung Ho next week, and that guy's a beast.
Yeah, because I think they've used the same mould as Roadblock, so I think he's a similar height to Roadblock.
Okay. All right, let's move on. We've got one more to discuss, and this is from NECA, and it is the Ultimate Armoured Lost Predator. Now, got this in a deal, 27 quid. I think they retail for about 37 or 40 or something like that. Big boy, he's about 8 inches, I'd say. Now, I don't know much about this line other than I think NECA have produced quite a lot of Predators over the years. I think they've got the main license for them, and they did a line, and then what they've done is they've re-released them all under the Ultimate brand. So, a bit of remoulding, bit of better paint apps, maybe better accessories, etc. And the one I've got here, I think, is from Predator 2. I could be wrong, but really nice. Comes with 3 heads. He's got the open mouth, the closed mouth, and he's got a helmet where you push a button on the top and the eyes light up red. It's got a little battery in it. Amazing. He's got a shoulder-mounted cannon, kind of laser cannon thing. He comes with a throwing disc with kind of spindles coming off of it, kind of the open jazz hands, nice sword. The dreadlocks are all rubbery and movable. Just a really nice, kind of good articulation for such a big figure, but a really nice guy. I've sent you some pictures. I don't know if you're able to look him up online.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, very tempted to pick up a Predator myself.
Yeah, it's not. I went down the thinking of, look, I'm not going to collect all the Predators. I'm not going into this line at all. But I figure when they're this good, you probably should have at least one Predator on your shelf. So have a look at these NECA Ultimate Predators. Have a Google, because a lot of them, they are all different. They've got the different skin tones and paints and accessories. So even if you wanted to get more than one, there's plenty of differences between them to warrant it. But yeah, so have a look, pick out your best one, and be interested maybe on a future episode. Action Figure Fiasco can be discussing one of your Predators.
So you're an enabler here now, Chief. It's not just that you're out. You're not just out of the game and back in. It's you're trying to push it on everyone else.
Always trying.
You need a Predator.
Good stuff. More Action Figure Fiasco next week. But right now, it's time for Comic Talk. Comic Talk. Oh, Comic Talk. Barry Hammer writes them. Chief and Mark discuss them. Whoa. Comic Talk. Oh, Comic Talk. Larry Harmer writes them, Chief and Mark discuss them. Whoa! Okay, on this week's show we are covering issues 244 and 245 of A Real American Hero. These are from September and October 2017. Larry Harmer, S.L. Gallant, Brian Shearer and Jay Brown are your creative team. Yeah, so looking at these, any pick for favourite cover?
Favorite cover?
So, yeah, I think out of them, I would probably go for the John Royal variant on 245, which is Major Blood, sort of spotlight, and looking very much like Dick Dastardly.
Yep. Same. No, I'm going the same. I think you've nailed the Dick Dastardly reference there. He kind of looks a bit maniacal, a bit kind of clownish, but still pretty badass at the same time.
Yeah. And I don't. It's sort of like just a real spotlight on the character, sort of properly showing off, his whole uniform and it's. I don't know if he's had a solo cover before, but is a great design. So it's lovely to sort of have him have a bit of a time in the sun to shine there.
I think maybe could be getting it wrong. Maybe issue 106 where he's got his sniper rifle with Snake Eyes, bang,
right.
You're dead, or something like that.
That's right. Yeah. But I think that's quite close up.
Close up.
You don't get to see his whole ensemble. The way that you do it.
That's my favourite one as well. Yeah. So
touching on the other covers, we got 244 is S.L. Gallant, sort of a iconic Two Ninja cover. 245 we've got Dawn versus a couple of Red Ninjas on the ride in the amusement park, and the other Royal is Serpentor and Zorana, and we've also got an interesting variant from on 245, the Yesteryear Comics variants from Miguel Mercado of the Baroness, and I think that's the start of a run of about 4 or so covers from him. And while I haven't given it my main pick, his style is sort of very painterly, very very nice. Worth checking out, and I look forward to seeing the rest of his in the run as well.
Yeah, we'll post those up on the socials as always. But we need to dig into the inside, so let's find out. Last time on A Real American Hero, Granny Demon has taken the troubled Dawn Moreno to Japan to further her ninja training and help the young girl to better cope with the dark memories of the original Snake Eyes, which possesses Dawn's fragile mind. Meanwhile, in Trucial Abysmia, Leatherneck Airborne, Longshot and Rock and Roll battle alongside US Ambassador and former US Marine McCrory, his bodyguards and local allies in order to escape the besieged US Embassy. A raging gunfight throughout the buildings and street ensues, and the team is finally able to escape the urban warfare hell zone, but only after Ambassador McCrory sacrifices his own life in a fiery inferno to stop their determined pursuers. Yep, good recap of last issues. But we're here to talk about these issues, and let's get into what's happening.
Plot breakdown.
So we start in the pit with Airborne Leatherneck Rock and Roll getting some chow following their last mission, and they bump into the new Joe, Naif Nasir, codename Mongoose, the new Arabic language specialist.
Yep, and also in the Sierras, some troublemakers on quad bikes come across Snake Eyes' cabin and start vandalising it, only to be interrupted by Timber, growling at them.
Over in Darklonia, an observation post has been set up to observe the Revanche Super Bat Factory by a team consisting of Big Ben, Ambush, Sightline and Bomb Strike. They've organised a recon expedition. Bomb Strike looks to slip in through the fence, while Big Ben poses as a financial wonk. The remaining Joe team poses techs inspecting gas and electrical conduits. Bomb Strike meets a kid, Milo, who warns her about the security measures at the fence and offers help getting inside via a storm drain. Bomb Strike and Milo meet up with Sightline and Ambush inside and set off an explosion as a distraction for Big Ben to upload a Trojan horse onto the factory operating system. The team then sets about attaching microcams to every bat in the warehouse, but they're left trapped inside when the blast doors seal them in.
Oh, exciting stuff. Over in Springfield, as the building site for the new Springfield Community Centre starts going up, Destro and Baroness are berating Cobra Commander for not taking Zartan's betrayal seriously, and also warning him that the duplicitous Dr. Venom might be looking to take revenge on Cobra Commander. And in the basement, Venom is developing the brainwave scanner to implant Snake Eyes memories into a Blue Ninja bat. Snake Eyes files were corrupted though, and a complete set of memories for Storm Shadow were intact, so they are used. Later, over a game of Crazy Golf, Cobra Commander, Baroness and Destro discuss a plan to erase Venom from Mindbender's mind once he has outlived his usefulness.
Meanwhile, over in the Jersey Meadowlands, Cobra Aspid helicopters loaded with night creepers, night vipers and bats attack Zartan, but they are fooled by a holographic trap and are blown up.
Oh dear. In an amusement ride in Tokyo, Dawn tries on a new set of fighting togs, and later takes part in a ninja show with some fancy ninja star tricks. A mysterious man has seen them, noting, "We must make our move immediately." And later, Dawn, Granny and the ninja performers are alerted to Red Ninja intruders converging on the spook ride. We're left with a cliffhanger as a Red Ninja cries, "Wrinkle out every Arashikage and kill them all." There you go.
We'll find out if they're wrinkled out and killed next week, I guess.
Yeah, so that is your basic plot summaries. So let's dig into some of these plots right now.
Talking points.
Okay, anything, jumping off the page, I guess we could probably start straight at the beginning of 244, where
Yeah, why not?
they introduce Mongoose. Where was he last issue?
Well, that was the thing. Is S-Jubs over on the board said, "What why have they introduced this guy? Why they could have had Dusty on the mission as their Arabic specialist, because over on his V2 file card, he's listed as being a proficient Arabic speaker, but they didn't have Dusty and they didn't have Mongoose because no prize time.
Yep.
They were coming back from a different mission which did not require a Arabic specialist.
Yes.
They were flying over an Arabic-speaking country en route back home, and that was when they got the call to insert themselves and rescue the Ambo,
Yes.
regardless of not being quite as prepared for it as they might otherwise have been.
Yeah, good shout. Give them a no prize. Also, rock and roll racist or not?
What's he said? What's
He's chatting to the guy, and he says, "Your English is very good."
Okay, yeah. And
I don't know.
It's like, well, I'm
American.
I'm American. That's
Yeah.
why.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was
So rock
born
and roll
in
douchebag
Dearborn.
gone massively down, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a bit more sort of casual racism and political stuff coming up anyway, which we'll discuss.
And speaking of casual racism, again, S-Jubs called out the fact that Airborne here is looking very white and not really looking especially like a Native American in these settings.
Well, let's stay on this controversial theme then, because the next few pages have these guys trashing up Snake Eyes' cabin, like we mentioned, and this, I wasn't aware of it at the time, but this caused quite a bit of a scene and stirred up a bit of a hornet's nest when the issue came out over on the message boards and between some unhappy people and editor. Was it Tom Waltz was the editor of IDW at the time?
I think that's right, isn't it? Yeah.
So,
So
give us kind of the cliff notes. Give us the Reader's Digest on this.
Well, we've got a couple of ruffian locals there. One of them's got an NRA cap, and one of them's got a striking red cap out there, and they're sort of making statements along the lines of it's folks like us who made this country great. And one of them ends up carving Trump onto the cabin, and it's a fairly overt kind of political allusion there, and it also comes on the back of the previous scene, which is about having inclusion of diversity onto the team as well. In
Larry's kind of just pointedly saying that these redneck hick Republican chumps, Trump supporters, are
up to no good and disrespecting,
Yeah.
veterans, smashing up, the house of the real American hero, really,
Yeah.
being Snake Eyes' cabin. So yeah, Waltz replied to it and sort of copped the blame in terms of the controversy, that he said that S.L. Gallant's sort of art there with the Trump graffiti was an inside gag, which he should have edited out prior it going to print. And he said that actually when he reviewed the issue with Larry, that he said to him that while regardless of the political opinions being stated or the leanings, that the Real American Hero book wasn't necessarily the place to have them. So in the end, he sort of cops to it and said that sort of apologised for making it quite so overt.
Yep.
And this was on the same week actually as the Aubrey Citizen G.I. Joe controversy, where he had the author of that book had made some political kind of statements, which led to a lack of promotion of his book, and then the subsequent cancellation of that book, Scarlet Strike Force.
Okay.
I think only 3 issues into it, if I remember
Right.
correctly. So Audrey Citizen somewhat thrown under the bus by IDW there. And interestingly enough, I don't know if it's entirely connected, but S.L. Gallant, I believe this was his, these 2 issues were his last on the book, and
Right.
and he hasn't really returned to it since. So
No.
whether that's coincidence or sort of retribution for that Trump graffiti, who's to say?
I obviously don't live in the US. I don't particularly take any offence to any of the stuff that's in this book, or even if it was going the other way and there was, allusions to theoretical Democratic supporters doing air quotes wrong things like that. I mean, that wouldn't bother me either. It's just a comic book, man. It's just words and pictures. I mean, nothing to get ruffled about. It takes a lot to offend me, to be honest, but
if you're going to take offence with what these chumps are doing, the carving up a veteran's house and so on, that's a story. Roll with it. I guess what you could say is that scene isn't referred to again, at least in these 2 issues, so it doesn't seem to serve any purpose other than making a somewhat of a political statement.
Yeah, so in that regard, I think Larry's probably to blame from writing the scene in the first place. If it doesn't connect to any sort of storylines, then fair enough, but the actual content of it, whatever. Anyway, that's done. Let's move on past that. The Dark Lonia stuff we've had Mongoose. We've got another new Joe, if I'm not Sightline. Is he new?
Yep, so I believe that is the first appearance of Sightline, and so he's got an interesting background. So he came packaged in the Silent Strike set for the 50th anniversary line in 2015, so
right.
Just a couple of years earlier to this, and it was a character created posthumously in honour of a well-known, respected G.I. Joe fan called Gary Goggleshead. So they've taken his real life name, I think, as the file name for the character, and I guess it's a way of sort of doing some paying respects to Gary, and by including the character in the pages of the comic. Sort of no special reason, I think, otherwise for using Sightline rather than necessarily any other well-established.
What is he? Is he a spotter then? Is he?
Yeah, he's like a spotter for I guess a bomb strike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a bit of a fudge here, isn't there? Actually.
Which one is that?
Bomb Strike says it's a perfect op for us, and Sightline says that's a Rog ambush.
Okay.
So he's calling Bomb Strike
Okay.
ambush, but anyway.
Yeah, I'm sure he could tell the difference between the two of them.
Yeah, and one thing I liked about this team is when they go into their civilian identities, it's another bloody recon mission into Darklonia. It's like they're just always doing recon, forever doing recon. Where's their affirmative action, Joes? Come on, this is. Yeah, I said it before. The book is losing me rapidly. You know, if it wasn't for doing this pod, I would stop reading this book. I'll be honest. So, I don't know, just more recon missions. Anyway,
yeah, more recon. They can find out a bit more about the bats that they hadn't found out on the previous 5 or so recon missions.
Because I thought when they were going in, I thought they were going in to actually do something, and then they'd mention our recon. But I'll tell you one bit I do like is, who is it there? Is that Big Ben? And when he goes into civilian identity, he's getting dressed up. He looks a lot like Lee Majors. And that's no coincidence because S.L. Gallant obviously drew the G.I. Joe $6 Million Man crossover miniseries.
Yeah, and, not long after this. I mean, who knows? He might have been ready.
He came off this book to do that series, and then was hoping to jump back onto the main G.I. Joe book, but obviously, as we know, never came back on. But so we see there's other panels in here where again he's looking very Lee Majors-ish, which is quite cool. I quite like that.
Okay, interesting. And Big Ben, he's checked for his facial detection to see if it's on the Cobra database of G.I. Joe agents. And while they've been using various spoofing things to try and defeat it, the reason that Big Ben is able to actually defeat their facial recognition is because he's on the SAS, and SAS security is clearly much better than G.I. Joe security.
Yes, correct.
Where they can spot Cutter, underwater from a distance of 50 meters.
All right, let's stay with this Darklonia stuff. Milo, is this the kid that was on Cobra Island?
No, I have no idea who you're talking about.
There was a kid that helped them when they were on Cobra. I'm sure there was.
Are you talking about Captain Min?
Captain Min, I thought he had a kid with him. Maybe he didn't have a kid with him. Maybe I'm just making up a kid.
No, I mean there was Tyrone on there for a bit.
Oh yeah, maybe I'm
different
thinking
kids.
All right, ignore all that. We'll leave it in just to show Chief's ineptness. But Milo, this is a new character, is it?
Yeah, as far as I know.
Okay.
And yeah, I Spy My Little Eye segment. The look of Milo seems to be entirely based on the main character from the film Son of Rambo, which is a 2007 film by Garth Jennings.
Okay.
Yeah, so have a little Google.
All right. Yep. Well, while we're on it, then, spot anything else?
I spy with my little eye.
Why not? So there was one thing that I missed last week, which I feel like I have to call out, which S. Jubs pointed out that I'd missed. So back in issue 243, there was this insurgent Akbar who shouted, "It was a trap!"
Yes, one of my favourites.
It's a trap. So yeah, nice little Star Wars reference to it. And he also corrected me on the fact that I think I got my terminology mixed up about a practical Jeep, which is the terminology that Larry used in the comic, versus a technical vehicle, which is the terminology used in the film I was talking about, 13 Hours. Got it. Yeah, both basically meaning the same thing in the context used, but actually different lingo being used. I noticed that on the building site for the new Springfield Community Centre, there was a skip which said Vindo Vipers Brothers Construction Co.
Yep.
Which I know you're not so much into the cartoon, but that's a callback to the cartoon episode The Viper is Coming.
Okay.
Where it's sort of build up over this mysterious phone calls, where he's sort of saying, "I am the Viper. I will be coming in one day." And then at the end of it, the payoff is this guy comes along with a bucket, and he says, "I'm the White Viper. I've come to wipe your windows."
Right. Okay.
So there we go.
Very good. Very good.
For the second or maybe even third pod running, we've had a typo on the character names. So here we've had Night Crawlers instead of Night Creepers.
Yep.
We had a mention of this Ellen Bogdan, who's the designer of Dawn's costume,
and I think that must relate to something. My Google foo gets me closest to Eric Ellenbogdan, who was the CEO and president of Marvel Enterprises back in 1998 when they were having somewhat of a tumultuous time, sort of hovering around bankruptcy.
Okay.
And I think Larry probably would have been still working on Wolverine back then, I think. So could well be that that's the reference to, unless it's an entirely different person. But I think that's a little call out there to somebody that Larry knows in the world of comics and Joe somewhere.
Okay.
So another one here was Granny Demon said to Dawn that it's better to be Oroshiri than kawaii. So that is, it's better to be scary than cute.
Right.
Some nice Japanese there. There was, as always with these sort of scenes, over at the crazy golf course, Shannon can't help himself from putting in some fun touches there. And there was a nice little Dr. Mindbender head as one of the obstacles on the crazy golf course, which was...
Where do you stand on this? We've seen them bowling. We've seen them now doing crazy golf. Where's it going next, you think?
Where's it next? They're going to go for a bit of laser tag, or mind you, the Joes were doing that not that long ago.
They'll be doing something. But I'm looking to see.
And I was going to say
paintball.
They have done
paintball. Shannon leaving the book, but
yeah. So who knows? Yeah, what else can they be doing? Be a little scene of them having a discussion about their next operation while they're doing a bungee jump, perhaps.
Yes. Yeah, very good, very good. The Darklonia stuff kind of wraps up. They've infiltrated. They're doing a lot more than recon because they actually blow up the base.
Well, yeah, I mean, pretty much. And then they the Sightline's original suggestion was that they just nuked the base from space, kind of thing, wasn't it? So
yeah,
why not? Why not just blow it up? They know they're up to no good. What more are they going to find out from their recon? But ends up with some explosions and them being trapped inside.
Yeah. All right, let's have a look. Where do you want to go next? Do you want to go to Springfield and all that stuff, or should we do the Tokyo?
Okay, should we talk about Springfield? So what's going on with the Cobra shenanigans with Dr. Venom and so on?
Now then, I need to make a fool of myself here by asking a question which has probably been answered in the last few issues, but I just have not paid attention. I thought that when did Venom explain to all the hierarchy that he had co-opted Mindbender's body?
I don't know that he had explicitly said it in any of the dialogue we've seen.
No,
but
I thought
they've
he
worked
was
it
just,
out.
Yeah, I'm just back in a cloned body or something like that. But the Destro and Cobra Commander are talking about extracting the Venom personality from Mindbender's body. But I was just trying to recall when they had deduced that, or it was clearly labelled in the issues that is what was going on. But
I think it was just fairly transparent, that Mindbender has vanished and Venom has turned up, looking very much like Mindbender, but with with a wig and a shaved moustache.
And he has now got a new bat, XR23, which he's implanted with Storm Shadow's memories.
Yeah, so we got another kind of
more variation
of a body running around with a ninja's mind in it.
Yeah. I don't know. Where do you stand on this?
See where it goes. Why not?
Yeah. I mean,
a ninja bat.
Yeah, Cobra Commander doesn't. He's out there playing crazy golf. Where's his big schemes of worldwide domination gone? They seem to have been there about 6 months ago, but now they've kind of just dissipated.
Yeah, and with absolutely no allusions to the subjects we were talking about before. Some crazy megalomaniac in charge who's focusing on playing golf instead of coming up with any concrete plans to improving things for his organisation.
Yeah. I do quite like the choppers though that he sends out to the Meadowlands with the mouth on the front of them. Have we seen those before? Those Cobra choppers?
The choppers, the aspids, the.
Are they the aspids? Are they aspids? Are they? Okay.
Yeah. Where are we?
It's the start of in the Jersey Meadowlands. They're doing the siege on the Dreadnoks base.
Yeah, I think that is.
I didn't know they had the mouth bits on the front.
Yeah. They've always had those sort of painted on mouths.
Okay.
Those are just the Cobra Aspid helicopters.
Right. Okay. Fine. And one oil drum, would have been enough with C4 explosives. They've put in about 50 of them.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Why not?
And quick question here as well. When the Dreadnoks are escaping on the Thunder Machine, Zartan says he'll have to come to Dreadburg to find us. Is this the first reference of the fictional Dreadburg?
I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah. So I wonder if this gets followed up later on. But I guess it's the implications is that there's an entire township of some form that is populated by Dreadnoks.
Yes,
interesting.
Interesting. So that the conclusion of that really is that okay, fine, Zartan and the Dreadnoks got away, and Cobra Commander now knows it, I guess, because all the intel would have gone back saying the warehouse is rigged to blow. Fine. So okay, didn't particularly need that scene, I guess. But
I get it's just tying a little bow in the whole Zartan switching sides and Cobra recognising it and blah blah. But it's not the first time that Cobra have been fooled by their not respecting their GPS targeting either. So this time it was a hologram, and previously it's been the Joes just moving their tin hut a few meters along in the desert.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about the Dawn stuff quickly. So, main point here is she's gone off to do training, and she has got new battle togs.
New togs, Toggy togs.
Fan of this?
Yeah,
look,
one page splash reveal of the costume. For what it is, I mean, it's not a bad designed uniform, is it?
Agree. I think the design is fine. Elements of Snake Eyes in there. The visored Snake Eyes. So the actual design, even if I don't like the character or the direction of the storyline, the design of that costume is actually pretty cool.
Yeah, pretty cool, I'd say. Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that.
I like the visual bit where they go through this kind of illusion room or hall where everything's upside down and back to front and all that kind of stuff. That's pretty cool.
The Confusion Vestibule.
Yeah. And they're training. These ninjas are training as part of a show, rather than just train in their own isolated training facility. They're doing their training as show performers.
Yeah, killed two birds with one stone. It's corny, but it pays the bills.
Yeah, interesting. And like you said, we got this mysterious guy who's watching them from the outside. I don't think that pays off until the next issue.
I guess. Well, the payoff is that the Red Ninjas
attacking,
turn up. So I guess that's the action that follows his phone call, tipping them off.
I thought it was interesting that Granny puts a lot of stock in Dawn because she teaches her a manoeuvre called the Tanuki masking manoeuvre, which she wouldn't even teach to Snake Eyes or Storm Shadow.
Yeah.
And we don't as yet know what that manoeuvre is because on the next page the Red Ninjas attack and
gets interrupted.
They try to winkle, obviously not wrinkle, out every Arashikage. So we'll find out if that Tanuki masking manoeuvre is mentioned in further issues or whether Larry has forgotten about it already. But we don't really know why the Red Ninjas are attacking at this point.
Well, I wonder if we'll get it properly explained. It's, I guess, the long-lived feud between the Red Ninjas and of the remnants of the Arashikage clan.
Yeah.
Hopefully, it'll get somewhat explained. But
let's
hold my breath
for next episode. Let's read. It's a 5-part storyline coming up, Dawn of the Arashikage. Let's read it all just in case, and then after reading it, we'll decide whether we want to cover all 5 issues on the next pod, or maybe cover 4 and then do 250 next episode or whatever. But listeners, if you are reading along, just read all 5, so at least you're prepared for whichever way we decide to go.
Cool.
But regarding, go on.
I was going to say it's Nitho Diaz on art picking up next issue, isn't it?
It is, yes, correct. Yeah,
and so it's the kind of the end of the SL Gallant, Brian Shearer, Jay Brown team that's sort of seen us through, almost the best part of 100 issues. It's
Cap
been
off to those guys.
Yeah, what a run! It's sort of almost unseen in modern comics that you have an art team sort of with such a long duration and body of work. There, it's easier to kind of call out the runs that are of that kind of length because they're so few and far between. That you've got your Eric Larson on Savage Dragon. You've got maybe Invincible by Kirkman and also Charlie Adlard on Walking Dead, and once you got past them, you're sort of then struggling to think who else has got such a large body of work of unbroken issues.
Yeah, quite a lot of writers maybe from the 80s and early 90s, but not artists, definitely.
Yeah.
It's just the rigours of it's become common practice, I think, amongst the big publishers now that doing arcs, isn't it? So you'll get your artist on, he'll do a 4-issue arc or a 6-issue arc, then he'll swap for another artist to do 6, then he'll come back on. It's almost like rotating art
exactly.
Art teams.
Very few artists can actually cope with that drumbeat of producing one issue a month, on time every time.
Yeah. Can you imagine if if he had done this run 100 issues on Batman or something? He'd probably be the world's most well-known artist or something like that. But doing it on a book like G.I. Joe with such a low distribution, he probably goes under the radar of a lot of comic fans who don't read G.I. Joe. So
yeah, absolutely.
Caps off to those guys. We haven't actually finished talking about these issues because we do need to talk about the scripting.
Favourite line of dialogue?
Okay, any bits of dialogue that really popped out for you?
So what did I spot? It was Dr. Venom. He does some sort of great sort of monologuing and sort of always brings a smile. So he says, "The Joes now have an incarnation of Snake Eyes, but it resides in an imperfect vessel, a mere slip of a girl child. What if the skills and memories of Snake Eyes were implanted in a truly formidable entity? Something like this?"
Yeah, reveal.
Reveal.
Very good. I have chosen one just because I didn't know what it meant and it sounded funny, and I don't know if it's real or not. When Big Ben is getting into his civvies, he says, "I shall be in Mufti as a financial wonk, hoping for an investment opportunity." Just sounded funny to me because financial wonk. Is that a real thing or not?
I don't know. Yeah, no, that tickled me too. I don't know that sort of word really, wonk, but I like it.
Googling it. Wonk. Financial wonk definition: informal and somewhat derogatory, a new hire at a Wall Street trading firm.
Very good.
The term was popularised by the book Liar's Poker. Okay, financial wonk. I'm going to use that in everyday life as a derogatory. Hey, you financial wonk. Right, anyway, we'll wrap up this with who was our fave.
Who is the MVP? Most valuable person in these issues. Who is the MVP? Is it a Cobra Joe or the enemy?
The good guys are the Joes now show counter-terrorist force, but hush, it's on the down low. Pages of this book, go have a look. We're searching for guys or gals that have the hook. The hook of being the best thing in the story, chomping up scenes, front and center allegory. And let's not forget about those cats named Cobra, sipping Dom Perignon. Are you sure they're sober? Brainwave Scanner is back, gonna be messing. Big CC and Destro teach a lesson. Talking valuable, can we talk the dreadnoughts, grape soda, chocolate donuts, and then the jukebox?
Who is the MVP? Most valuable person in these issues. Who is the MVP? Is it a Cobra Joe or the enemy?
Okay, MVP time. 2 issues. Who are you picking?
Hard to say, really. I've gone Dr. Venom just for the grand scheming and dialogue.
Yep.
What about yourself?
I'd like to say no one. Not that I hated everyone, but just I struggled, like no one really stood out of doing anything of major importance. Maybe Big Ben just for his Lee Majors wonk stuff. So let's go with that. Let's go. I'm going with the financial wonk Lee Majors.
Excellent.
Yes, we will. I think even though this does lead into Dawn of the Arashikage, it kind of did tie up the Springfield stuff to a degree. It did tie up the Darklonia stuff and served as a bit of a prelude to the next arc. So let's rank this as a 2-issue story. How many Yojo Colas are you giving it?
Well, I think it didn't do a huge amount. It sort of wrapped up the previous stuff and laid down some track for the stuff to come. But most of the content there is relatively forgettable. So I'll say 5 for this time.
Okay. Yeah, I think I will probably go along the same lines with the Funky Bunch there with a 5. So make sure if you are reading along to do the next 5 issues in preparation in case we do cover them all next week. But right now it's time to talk about toys. Mark talks about toys, ho ho. He talks about G.I. Joe. He talks about all the toys from the comic book and the animated show. Mark talks about toys. Mark talks about toys. Okay. I need to guess.
Your guess is, yeah.
I'm guessing it's going to be one of those guys on the Darklonia adventure. It is Big Ben.
Oh, ding, 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 ding.
Yeah. Not in his financial wonk gear, I imagine.
No, yeah, I don't think they released that variant.
Special variant. Someone make a custom of that, please.
Yeah, so I'm sure it's already been done, I was originally thinking Sightline, but I don't actually have the toy and never have. And I thought actually Big Ben is sort of from that original era and is much more known and iconic, and I don't think has ever been covered on Toy Talk on the show, unless I have forgotten, which is entirely possible, as I always say. So Big Ben, I think he came out in 1981, I want to say. Yep, 1981 in
81?
Sorry, let me say that again. No, shall I start again? Yes, why not? So Big Ben, he came out in 1991.
Okay.
And sort of looking at who else came out in that year, I think it's pretty much, it's one of the last strong years of releases before it starts getting silly. So, within that era, you're beginning to get into some of the less iconic redesigns of version 1 characters, like the Cobra Bat version 2, which definitely didn't really deliver anything on top of the version 1. It's got that kind of neon orange and green rather than the cool V1 sort of slightly more realistic look to it. You did have Low Light version 3, Mercer version 2, Red Star, so a few Crimson Guard Immortal, some still quite cool figures released in that year, but yeah, sort of beginning to get into the era of the slightly sillier neon designs. So I don't actually think that I had this figure when it first came out, but I imagine that I did buy it somewhere along the line, but after the time that I'd kind of stopped properly playing with them, I think. I'm imagining you never had this.
No, I've never seen it. Never actually seen the figure.
Yeah, ironically, both of us not having this one, which I think is the main Brit character in the G.I. Joe verse. But there we go. So he is David J. Bennett. He's a staff sergeant from Burford, England, with a primary speciality of infantry and secondary speciality of subversive operations. He's on a second assignment in temporary exchange program from 22 SAS. So interestingly, they're saying that he's on a temporary exchange there to G.I. Joe rather than necessarily being a permanent member. And they allude to in in the comic itself, the fact that he's SAS and therefore is sort of ultra secret in terms of not having any records on the system. So let's read some of the blurb. The British SAS is roughly the equivalent of the American Special Forces, maintains an equally rigorous standard for its recruits. The combat records of the SAS personnel are classified, but it's assumed that Big Ben participated in the initial recon operations in the Falklands campaigns and in various covert operations. He received his initial training at Bradbury Lines Barracks in Hereford and was on the cadre of the NATO LRRP school in West Germany, being the long-range recon patrol. To qualify for the SAS, a candidate trooper must complete the Long Drag, which is a forced march over 30 miles through marshes and rough hilly terrain, carrying 50 pounds of equipment. The march must be completed in less than 20 hours and is a grueling test of endurance and land navigation. Big Ben completed his march in 12 hours and had a bit of supper and volunteered to go back and help search for candidates who got lost in the moors.
Strong.
And for the people in the UK, I think the SAS is somewhat of a kind of mythical feeling to it, that at school there was always somebody who had claimed to have like a dad or an uncle in the SAS, and they were the hardest person in the country. And we had the sort of the hostage siege in the embassy in England, which made a big impression for people who were there at the in that era. And actually for Action Force as well, we had the SAS sub team as well. So SAS being quite a big iconic thing really for people on this side of the pond, and sort of almost a mythological level of prowess, almost like sort of ninja levels of army abilities. And the design of the character itself, it's quite a cool look to him. He's sort of got this, I guess you'd call it a cap, would you, with the kind of the flaps.
That's the only part of the design of the character I don't like. So I like the colour scheme of the khaki pants, the dark jacket, the ammo belts, the cuffs on the jacket are nice. Black gloves is a nice touch. I don't think we see enough black gloves in G.I. Joe figures. Boots look cool. Face, load of detail on the face, really nice. It's just that hat, it's just the white. I would like a bit more weathering on the white or something. It's just too stark, kind of popping out a little bit too much for me.
Yeah, I can get that. And maybe a grey to it instead. It's sort of not so stealthy, having the white pop as well. And he's got the camo on his face, which if applied in exactly the right way will spoof any facial recognition, as we found out from these issues. He comes with a great big machine gun and bipod, and a cool feature as well is that he comes with a grenade pouch with grenades in there, and I imagine those grenades being something that could very easily get lost at the size they are. But there we go. Big Ben, quite a popular figure, and one of those figures where less well known, less well used, but still has a lot of still a big favourite with a lot of fans.
Good guy. Even if he's written, quite poorly generally by Larry, especially in the early issues, in terms of his a bit shonky.
God blimey, Mary Poppins, we're going to get these cobras and no mistake.
But there you go. He's not, and not every Brit is Dick Van Dyke. American comic writers, take notice. But there you go. More toy talk next week. But we've got to segue into this little ditty. The Star Wars galaxy sure has a lot of playgrounds. Jedi Knights, evil Sith, bounty hunters, all doing the rounds. But there's a guy so cool, the Mandalorian. Now expand your mind and be a Star Wars historian. It's 10-Minute Mando. He's chasing a star. It's 10-Minute Mando. He loves Beskar. It's 10-Minute Mando in a galaxy far, far away. That's right. 10-Minute Mando is back on the clock already. We are going to be discussing Season 2, Episode 1. Has the Chief watched it? Yes, he has. Have you watched it?
Bing, bing, bing. Yeah, watched it Friday. Yeah,
watched it Friday.
Day
Okay.
of release.
I
So
think I watched
chapter
it.
9.
I watched it something like at 8 a.m. Friday morning.
Oh, very good. When you were messaging me, it sounded like you might be trying to stay up or get up at a ridiculous hour.
No, so I was speaking to Ben about this, and I was like, first season was okay. I'm going to watch the second one, but I'm not hyper pumped. He was literally climbing the walls, couldn't sleep, was desperate to watch this, and I didn't feel the same. And if you told me you can never watch The Mandalorian, I'd be like, okay, fine. Wouldn't necessarily bother me. And he couldn't get that. He was like mad at me for not being super pumped about it. But
having the same level of enthusiasm.
Yeah, anyway. So what did we think? It's quite a long one. It was like 53 minutes or 55 minutes. So they've started out long. And
Okay, right.
I don't know. I came away thinking, meh. I thought visually, seeing the Dune Sea, the Tusken Raiders, I like that kind of saloon feel at the beginning. Visually, I thought it was fantastic seeing the Krayt Dragon, although I guess budget didn't permit them to have it. They did. All we saw it mainly was it burrowing underground. We didn't ever see the whole thing in one piece, which was a bit annoying.
Well, I mean, when it came out of the ground towards the end of the episode and was attacking and flying up, we did get to see a big chunk of it.
Yeah, I suppose. But I mean, so visually very good. However, it felt like it was just another one of these Monster of the Week episodes that pretty much progressed the storyline zero, and the scripting was horrendous. I was just cringing at pretty much everything anyone was saying.
Crumbs. Yeah, scripted and directed by Jon Favreau. This one.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Okay, well, get that guy away from the script, please. I don't know. I came away feeling more disappointed than hyper pumped. Okay,
yeah. I mean, it was a kind of bit of a one and done, and the oddity for me, I think, was the sort of premise really that to be able, he's been quested to get the child back to its own people.
Yeah.
But to do that, he has to go on a sub quest, which is to seek out all of the Mandalorians across the universe, so that they can then help him.
Yeah, nailed it there. Like you've pretty much done it there. Why is he not going to his first source? But Sean, it's video game storytelling, so he's gone to somewhere and he's like, I need to find the Mandalorians because they will guide me on how to get this kid back. So it's very much, like I say, video game, go here, do this, get that, to then be able to go there and unlock that door, to then go there and disarm this trap. It's kind of point-by-point roadmapped, rather than... It just feels like there would be a quicker, better way for him to get this kid back, rather than, like you say, having to track down all these Mandalorians.
Yeah, and it's interesting you sort of make that video game analogy, because actually, in the video game Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic from 2003...
Oh, that was a great game.
A quest on Tatooine, which is the hunt for the Krayt Dragon, and many details from the episode, the explosives, the bantha for bait, the pearl that they get at the end of it is a reference to that quest.
Oh, wow.
And also, there's the fight versus the Krayt Dragon is similar to the video game Star Wars Bounty Hunter from 2002,
right,
where you play as Jango Fett in a battle against a Krayt Dragon on Tatooine. I've not played either of those myself, but interesting that this isn't completely new ground to the franchise.
Interesting. That's good. Timothy Oliphant, I pretty much like him in anything he's in. He was pretty cool as the Marshal.
Well, yeah, he's good, and I think he's fixed his teeth in recent years, so he's got like that sort of big white smile.
Yes,
but he's playing the Marshal, and I think the team on the Mandalorian, Favreau and co, they like to sort of pepper these like little Easter eggs in the way that they cast the piece, so that people can find these Easter eggs if they know about them or want to find them, but if they're not aware of them, it doesn't really matter. So Oliphant has a big background as playing Marshal, so he's in Deadwood, he plays a Marshal there, and in the Sheriff rather, and in Justified he also plays a Marshal there as well. and funnily enough, the bartender in Mando in this episode.
Yeah, I recognised, even under all that prosthetics, I recognised him, either his voice or his face. Who's he?
Yeah, he's W. Earl Brown. He appeared together with Oliphant on the HBO series Deadwood, where Oliphant was Sheriff Bullock and Brown was the bartender of the Gem Saloon. So the same dynamic of the sheriff and bartender.
Right.
So a nice little Easter egg there to be had.
Oh yeah, I just googled him. No, don't recognise him.
Okay,
But
fair enough.
yeah, I've got Deadwood box set, so I never actually finished it, so I do need to revisit that. But I don't know, like the storytelling. I was chatting to S-Jubs about this as well, and he was like, well, the Mando's like, give me that armour or I'll kill you and take it. And then a few minutes later, he's like, well, help me kill this crate dragon, I'll give it to you. And he's like, all right, yeah, fine.
I'll do that instead, yeah. It would have been easier just to kill him, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't know.
I think that initially, I might be misremembering this, but I think initially Mando does assume that it's another fellow Mandalorian, and it's when he orders the drink and they go down to sit, and I'm thinking, well, they've got drinks, how are they going to deal with this situation with their helmets? And it's when he takes off the helmet, he goes, right, okay, this is a guy who's not respecting the Mandalorian tradition of keeping your helmet on.
And at the end, I didn't recognise him as who's the actor dude. I didn't recognise that as supposedly being Boba Fett, I assume, then at the end. Yeah,
that's Temuera Morrison. So, yeah, the conclusion that you're meant to have there is that this is the same actor who played Jango Fett, and Boba Fett was Jango Fett's clone. So, yeah, therefore you would conclude that this is the armourless Boba Fett.
Yeah. So Boba Fett wasn't a clone, was he?
He was a clone of Jango Fett, but he was aged
I thought he was
naturally.
just his real kid, not a clone.
No, he was a clone of Jango Fett, but unlike the clones in the clone army, they were all rapidly aged.
Right.
Whereas this was a natural clone who was brought up from birth as a son, and
That's
therefore
a bit
doesn't
weird,
have
isn't
the
it?
same
It's like,
conditioning.
It's like having a mini you as, I don't know, weird.
Yeah, why not have the perfect son yourself?
That's it, yeah.
If
But anyway, he obviously escaped the Sarlacc pit and is, I don't know why he couldn't retrieve his armor, or why maybe he sold it to Jawas because he, I don't know, needed money or something. I don't know. Anyway, but he will obviously be making a reappearance and just tells us they're going to go back to Tatooine. Do you think? Because obviously now Mando has exited Tatooine, so either Boba Fett's going to follow him or Mando's going to go back to Tatooine yet again.
Yeah, hard to say. One of those two. Either he's, it might be the Boba Fett. You say Boba Fett, don't you?
I say Boba Fett, yeah.
Boba Fett might continue to sort of just be that lurking presence over the next few issues, sort of on their tail, and I would imagine maybe it builds up to the big conclusion of them sort of catching up in the last episode of the series.
Yes,
would be my guess, but who knows?
Okay, all right. Anything else you want to discuss about this one?
Yeah, I mean this episode was rife with all sorts of little details and Easter eggs and whatnot. There was the Boba Fett rocket launcher backpack being used in anger and on screen, I think, for the first time. The very first version of the figure had this flick kind of switch missile thing that was on it, which was recalled due to kind of safety fears that kids would be shooting it into their eyes, and so most of the regular versions of the toys then had just the moulded figure, so moulded missile. So it's a very kind of desirable and expensive version of the figure that has this launchable rocket. So fun to see that in action. We had the Tusken Raiders being in a straight line, leaving a single set of footprints, concealing the numbers. At the Crate Dragon, the noise that it made when it was roaring was apparently the same noise that Obi-Wan Kenobi uses to scare off the Tusken Raiders in order to save Luke Skywalker.
Yeah, I knew that already, actually.
Lovely little sort of.
Oh, what, they used
touch.
the same soundbite, you mean?
Or the same noise. I don't know if
Alright,
it's
okay.
exactly the same sound but that then makes a logic then as to what that noise is that Obi-Wan was making, and why the Tusken Raiders would be so scared.
I thought that was common knowledge for about the last 30 years.
Okay. Maybe it just eluded me.
Right.
So what else did we have? We had Cobb Vanth, who's the Marshal,
Yep.
and he's not actually a brand new character. He was first introduced in Chuck Wendig's 2015 Star Wars novel Aftermath,
Right.
in which he was a sheriff on Tatooine. So
Okay.
not afraid to delve into the expanded universe. There is interesting.
Yep.
And apparently as well, the speeder that the Marshal uses looks to be made of one of the engines from Anakin's pod racer.
Right.
So recycled part again from the lore. It's nice. It's I I have fun looking at the detail of these things and trying to see what I can spot. So as well as the actual story itself.
Yep. All right. Very good. Mando Season 2, Episode 2 next week. Will Mandalorian actually get back doing what he's supposed to be doing? We'll find out. Right, good stuff. We will finish out the show with the question.
Okie dokie, a pig and a pokey. So I came up with a song for this and I've forgotten what it was going to be. Oh yeah, this is it. We asked you a question like we always do. Will the answers be good or will they smell like poo?
Hopefully good.
Harsh.
So yeah, go on. What was the question?
The last time we discussed what your favourite unknown characters were, the B-listers, the C-listers, the D-listers, and so this week we decided to reverse it and ask you what are the really well-known characters, the A-listers in the G.I. Joe world, but that you just can't stand. So yeah, we've gone in there a little bit negative, looking for the bad, but why not? So let's sort of jump to some of the friends of the show, what they had to say. So S-Jubs came in with Footloose.
Okay,
and
interesting.
His objection to Footloose seemed to be around the detail there in the file card, the fact that he seems to have sort of sleepwalked into being on the G.I. Joe team rather than someone that has really sort of dedicated himself to a real sort of specialised career of being the best of the best.
Yep.
Chris Diagnostic 80 McLeod said, I love them all. So
Yeah, that was predictable.
but I said if the brainwave scanner was a character in its own right, then maybe he'd have one to pick.
Yes, yeah.
There.
I did have a file card, so.
And Mate Mylar came up with Quick Kick. He said, no shirt, no shoes, I'm not into yous.
Yeah, and I think Duke appeared quite a lot from the general populace.
Yeah, I was going to say, any guesses or remembrances of what the most popular ones would be? So there was two real leaders in terms of the responses of from the people across the socials. So Duke was one of them for sure. Who do you think would be the number two?
Could it possibly be Snake Eyes?
And Snake Eyes being the second. Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah.
And if I've got my votes correctly, there's only one vote sort of between them, with Snake Eyes having 9 and Duke having 8.
Yeah.
So very, very close battle there as to being the least favourite.
I guess Snake Eyes would probably suffer from oversaturation.
Yeah, for sure.
And Duke, I don't know, what people just didn't buy into him, I guess.
Yeah, so I think Duke, there's a couple of different angles. I think it's kind of that perfect whiter than white character who can do no wrong. They're sort of particularly in the way that he's characterised in the Sumbo cartoons. There's the fact that he's got that giant grin on his V1 toy,
Yeah.
which is slightly out of kilter with the rest of the line. and I could see that would rub people up the wrong way. And there was another chap who even said that, you know, he just seems to be a bit too hard on the team, just a bit too much of a tough sergeant. Snake Eyes being the sort of the saturation, the fact that he seems to have a, you know, get out of jail free card in terms of being a ninja and being able to do absolutely anything, and also the sort of the concentration on the whole ninja world as a result of Snake Eyes, and that little ninja dojo soap opera distracting from the you know, what should maybe be the thrust of the book, which is a kind of more military team versus terrorists hell-bent on conquering the world.
Yeah, I get that. What about yourself? Anyone that you don't particularly shine towards?
Yeah, I don't know, actually. Despite reading all of these answers, and I was coming up with the question myself, it would be hard to say actually what my own pick would be. I guess I never really gelled with Sergeant Slaughter, which it was a pick.
Yeah.
So let's say that.
Okay. I'm struggling to, you know, pick anyone that I was like, yeah, no, let's get less of this person in or whatever like that. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I'm probably the same as you. That, you know, no one really stands out, I don't think. Maybe like Scarlet when she was in the Ninja Force stuff. Just, I don't know, that's a specific iteration of the character. But on the whole, I pretty much like Scarlet. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna bypass that one. But we do. Thanks for all the responses as always. Keep them coming in. That's all good. Shall I call out
a couple of the favourites of the other answers? So let's not cover all of the responses. You know, check out the socials for all of those great responses, and thanks for everyone for giving your take. I'll just call out a couple of the ones that made me smile. So David said Red Ninjas. So he said, years of ninja training, but they appear in the dozens as cannon fodder. You know, where are they all coming from? You know, if you've been training as a Red Ninja for all of these years, you turn up to your first battle against Snake Eyes and are wiped out. Seems somewhat unfortunate. I liked someone calling out Blowtorch and just his colour scheme, and they said, was he supposed to be camouflaged because he was surrounded by fire?
Nice.
And Darren, last week, he's called out as one of his C-list favourites as Voltar, which we forgot to mention. So he's getting a shout out this week, but he's not going to be so happy with the fact that someone says it's their most disliked figure, because this is an interesting one. So it's Murky on Twitter. He says that Voltar means rape in Norwegian. So when me and my friends were playing with Voltar in the living room and said the name, my parents would look over in horror.
Oh dear.
Excellent. So those were a few of the call outs, but thanks to everybody who had their say.
Yeah, I'm going to have a think about that. I'm going to have a hard think and see if next week if I can come up with a character that I don't particularly enjoy or like. But question for you, the listeners, for next week is, and I've forgotten it already. What was it?
It's comics.
Oh yeah.
What?
Yeah. So the question for the listeners for next week is, we're going to go a bit comic-centric. So you may well be reading this G.I. Joe ARA run along with us. You may not be. You may have dropped it or just like listening to the Chief Dog and the Funky Bunch talk nonsense. But what other comic books are people reading out there? You know, where are you giving your money to? Marvel, DC, Image, some other independents, IDW, Boom, etc., Dark Horse. What books are you reading on a monthly basis, or what trades are you waiting to get collected? Are there any gems? Tell us your top two books that comics that you're currently reading. And if you're not reading any current books, tell us what back issues or what old stuff you're reading. So give us your top two. We'll collate the information. I say we will, Mark will. And then we'll read out the best ones next week and maybe give us some pointers and tips about what we should be reading. So yeah, send that in. You can do that on all the usual places. That's talking_Joe on Twitter, Talking Joe Comics on Instagram, talkingjoecomics@gmail.com, and Talking Joe, a G.I. Joe podcast on the Facebook. So been a good show, lots of good chat, but with all that said and done, we will catch you down the road.
Because we've been Talking Joe.
And we're all out of Joes. Laters.